Have you ever noticed that in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick rules? Whether he's trying to protect his reputation, impress other kids, or avoid becoming the laughing stock of the school, Greg spends the entire book worrying about what other people think of him. So today, we're looking at every time Greg tried to be popular in Roderick Rules. One of Greg's biggest concerns in this book is making sure nobody finds out about the embarrassing incident that happened over the summer. Greg knows that if the story gets around school, his reputation could be destroyed. Instead of enjoying his holiday, he spends weeks worrying about the secret getting out and making him look uncool in front of everyone. Of course, the person causing most of Greg's problems is Roderick. Roderick knows exactly what happened and constantly threatens to tell people. Greg becomes obsessed with keeping the secret hidden, not because it's dangerous, but because he's terrified of becoming a joke at school. Another way Greg tries to improve his social standing is by constantly comparing himself to other students. Throughout the book, he's always paying attention to who's popular, who's embarrassing themselves, and how he fits into the middle school hierarchy. Greg wants to move up the social ladder, but he never seems willing to put in the effort needed to get there. Greg also sees school activities as opportunities to look good in front of other people. Whenever there's a chance to gain attention or earn respect, Greg is interested. Unfortunately, things rarely work out the way he expects, and many of these moments end with Greg feeling embarrassed instead. One of the funniest examples comes from Greg's attempts to look more mature. Greg wants people to see him as older and cooler than he really is. The problem is that his actions usually have the exact opposite effect. Rather than looking confident and mature, Greg often ends up looking awkward and immature. The talent show is another moment where Greg sees a chance to boost his reputation. When Roderick's band, Lady Diaper, gets involved, Greg hopes the event might somehow work in his favor. Instead, the performance becomes memorable for all the wrong reasons and creates yet another embarrassing chapter in Greg's life. As the school year continues, Greg spends a huge amount of time trying to avoid humiliation. He worries about rumors, secrets, school events, and almost anything that could damage his image. Ironically, the harder Greg tries to protect his reputation, the more trouble he seems to find himself in. Perhaps the biggest reason Greg fails is because, rather than actually building friendships, he wants the benefits of popularity without doing the things that usually make people popular in the first place. Because of that, most of his plans are doomed before they even begin. By the end of Roderick Rules, Greg hasn't become one of the coolest kids in school. He's been embarrassed multiple times, and Roderick has made his life miserable as usual. But despite all that, Greg still believes popularity is just around the corner. And that's what makes Greg Heffley such a great character. No matter how many times his plans fail, he never stops thinking that the next idea will finally make him popular. Unfortunately for Greg, that next idea usually turns into another disaster. If you enjoyed this video, let me know which book I should cover next.